Welcome to the Dragon Slayer board game quick start video. In this video, we'll attempt to give you a quick overview of the basic rules and flow of the game so that you can jump right in without much trouble. The goal of the game is to defeat a three-headed dragon, collect the crown he's guarding, and bring it back to your house. First things first, place the house token and your player token on the start space. Shuffle the following decks by hovering over them and pushing the R key. Maps, treasure, and magic cards. Another thing you might want to do to make things easier down the line is set the tile rotation to 90 degrees. On your turn, you can move 4 spaces. If you land on an arrow space with no map board next to it, draw a map board from the face-up pile and place it on any open adjacent square. Then finish out your turn like normal. Be sure to lock the map tiles in place so you don't accidentally pick them up during play. If the new board has treasure chest icons on it, cover them with chest tokens. No peeking! When you land on a chest token, use the F key on your keyboard to flip it over. You can take or leave whatever you find. You got a sword! Nice! That adds +1 to your attack. Gold goes directly into your inventory. Take it back to the house to swap it for either 3 HP or 1 XP apiece. Since we're on the subject, let's talk about items. This is a magic bottle. You can either swap it immediately for a magic card, or put it in your held item slot to trade in for 2 XP later at the house. That's a key! If you're feeling a little cheeky, you can carry it back to the house to unlock another player's inventory and steal all of their gold. Next, we have the ring. You can use it to pick up the house and carry it with you. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Just remember, the house can only be moved in cardinal directions. Uh-oh, you flipped over a Reaper token. Roll the die to see what happens. Roll a 7 or 8, and you'll get away scot-free. But if you roll a 6 or less, reduce your HP by however much you rolled. One of Dragon Slayer's most famous items is the Power Stone, but it has only one use. Take it back to the house to earn yourself 3 XP. Not too shabby. We'll come back to items in a bit, but for now, let's move on with the game. Here's a neat fact. When you reach level 3, your player will be able to move diagonally. Not long after you start playing, you'll be greeted with a tomb space. This is where monsters spawn from, and from now on, there will be a monster turn immediately after the turn of the person who drew this map. On the monster turn, push this button. It will randomly select one player, who will then be able to move up to 2 monsters 2 spaces each. Keep in mind that whenever the tomb is exposed, you need to populate it with a new monster. Monsters must be drawn, in order, from the D, C, B, and A piles. I'll explain the S-rank monsters later, since they only come into play towards the end of the game. Monsters can move horizontally, vertically, and diagonally. Pretty scary. But there is one thing that can hold them back: the cross. The cross can be dropped to block monster progression, or it can be carried, keeping the player free from encounters. When a player without a cross lands on a monster, or a monster moves to their space, a battle ensues. Roll the die and add your level bonuses plus your sword bonus, if you have one, to your die roll. If this number is equal or greater than the S value on the monster's token, you win. The monster is then sent to the monster discard pile, and you'll add its E value to your EXP total. If your attack is less than the S value, you take damage equal to the E value, and your player token is ejected to an adjacent tile of your choice. Remember, multiple enemies can occupy a single space, and if you encounter 2 at once, you'll have to fight them both, one right after the other. If you happen to run out of monsters, flip the discard pile over and draw from the top. Don't shuffle it though. The monsters should appear in the same order they did before. While we're at it, let's talk about PvP. When you and another player land on the same spot, combat will begin just like it does with monsters. But this time, you'll both roll the die, adding all of your modifiers to your totals. Whoever rolls higher wins. If you tie, just try again. When you win a round of PvP, you can either decrease the opposing player's HP by the difference in your attack values, or you can steal that player's held item. Again, just like with monsters, if you lose, you'll be ejected to an adjacent space of your choosing. Now that we've been playing for a little while, let's talk about the map boards. Once all the Type 1 map boards are used up, you'll need to switch to the Type 2 pile instead. When you draw a board from this pile, make sure to keep it face down until you play it. Then flip it and lock it like before. Eventually, you'll turn over the dragon board. When the dragon board is played, retrieve the dragon head tokens and the crown token and place them like so. We'll talk more about the dragon board in a minute once our characters are a little bit more powerful. For now, let's look at some of the game's other mechanics. Question: if there's only so many treasure chest tokens, how do you keep from running out? Dragon Slayer offers a rather unique solution to this problem. Once all the map boards have been played, and every treasure token on the board has been upturned, the player who flipped over the last treasure token must roll the die 3 times. Put the discarded treasure tokens back on the draw pile face down, and shuffle them with the R key. Then, fill up the treasure spaces on the boards containing the same numbers that you rolled. If you get the same number twice, or roll a 1 or an 8, you must re-roll. Another interesting mechanic is warping. If you land on a warp tile, you have the option of rolling the die to see if you can warp to another area of the dungeon. Notice how this space shows the numbers 2 and 5? That means, if we roll a 2 or a 5, the warp fails. But if we roll any other number currently in play, then we can warp to it. Keep in mind, your turn ends right after the warp attempt, even if it fails. Next, I suppose we should talk about what happens when you run out of HP. If the dragon got your number, or a baddie got the better of you, you'll have to discard your held item and sword, lose 10 XP, get sent back to the house, and miss a turn. Oh well, at least you get 5 HP back. Better start leveling up again. Hey, you've hit level 6. Looks like you're about ready to take on the dragon. Although, are you sure you wouldn't rather level up a little bit more? He's a lot easier to take down at higher levels. Oh well, it's your funeral. Alright, I guess it's finally time we talked about the dragon board. It's pretty simple, really. Anytime you land on a fire tile, or the dragon's tail, you have to roll the die. If you get any of the numbers shown on that space, you'll take 3 HP of damage. There's no diagonal movement allowed on the dragon board. You'll have to go through at least a few flames. Okay, so you landed on one of the 3 heads. Now what? Well, you'll need to refer to this chart in the manual. The die roll needed to defeat a dragon head changes depending on what level you are. If you lose the fight, you'll take whatever damage amount is indicated on the chart for your level. And after that, you'll be forced to roll the die again and warp to whatever number you rolled. When all 3 heads are defeated, the fire and tail spaces become inactive, and if you have any movements left on your turn, you can now step forward and claim the crown. When the crown is collected for the first time, that player gets their HP and XP meters filled to the maximum. Note that, while the crown does give a +1 attack bonus, you'll no longer get a bonus for your sword if you're carrying one. Now that the crown's been picked up, the other players have a chance to steal it. This is also where the S-Class monsters come into play. The rest of the players who didn't get the crown can now place the S-Class monsters on any tiles immediately adjacent to the house. Try and be strategic with your placement. If you get lucky, you might just have a chance to steal the crown for yourself, although you won't get your HP and XP filled like the person who first picked it up. Way to go! You made it all the way back to the house, crown intact. Congratulations on winning the game. I hope you found this little guide helpful. Just remember, if you ever forget some of the rules, you can always refer to the in-game manual for help. Well, I guess that's about it from me. Happy dragon slaying, everyone!